So before moving forward, let's go back to the API and open up the .env file, right? And then I have added 3 different environment variables over here regarding Redis. Since we are using Redis in our application to create notification queues, right? So we need Redis credentials to connect with the Redis. So just keep this in mind and add these 3 variables. The host, the password, and the port number. So if your host number is if your the Redis host is different from mine, you can change it to that one. If you have set up a password to the Redis, you can set it over here. And then if the Redis is running in a different port than 6379, which is the default one, then you can change it over here. Okay, now let's talk about how you're going to retrieve these 3 credentials of the Redis. In the next part, when we talk about the Docker compose and we'll talk about the setup of the Docker, we will actually use this compose files. In this file you can see that we have the Redis configuration. Now here you can actually configure your Redis and assign different host, password, container name, and some other configurations like the space that the Redis the memory the Redis must consume, the maximum limit, and a lot of other configuration that you can do. You're more than welcome to check out documentation. So here we can see that the image name is Redis. So since we do not have any custom name for the Redis container, so this Redis will actually be our host, and we can see that the port is actually 6379, which is the default port. But if you map a different port, then you have to use a different port, obviously. And we do not have a password here, so we can set it null. So we can say that the image name is Redis, so this is going to be your host. If you have assigned a custom container name to the Redis, then you will have to use that as your Redis host. So we can say that the Redis is our host name and the port is going to be 6379, which is the default one. So we can just come back to the .env and we can see that we have put the same configuration over here. So the name of the container is going to be the Redis, and the port name is host. So once you in the next part, once we deploy our Redis container and the backend, you will have a flow something like this. You will have 2 different containers like this. So this is what the Redis. So once you put those credentials in your application, you will be able, your application server 1, which is the backend, will be able to access the Redis.